Hello, Assalamu alaikum. In this video, we will understand about the Klotho physiology. So, what is the Klotho? Let's understand about that. In this video, we will understand the general overview. The Klotho, the KL gene was identified as a regulator of normal aging, where mutated form led to accelerated aging phenotype. Aging phenotype means the appearance of the aging. So in this way, the clotho is an aging suppressor gene, remember. So it will suppress the aging. So the what is the aging? The negative physiological changes in our body. In ancient mythology, Klotho or Klotho was a daughter of the ancient Greek god Zeus and member of the three fates who responsible for spinning the thread of life. So the Klotho are present in the chromosome, the 5 exon gene. This present in the chromosome 13. So 1012 amino acid length containing this clotho protein, which that is transmembrane protein. Remember, this transmembrane protein basically will lead to control the sensitivity of cell to insulin and basically involve in aging. So remember that things, basically it will extracellular domain and intracellular domain, it will be secreted, or basically here is the insulin and basically the extracellular domain 2 repeats clotho 1 and 2, and intracellular domain which that remain inside of the cell. High expressed in kidney, choroid plexus of brain, and all tissue including parathyroid gland and part of the aorta and sex organ. So now we will understand about the physiologies. We will understand the general overview. We will look at the general physiology. So in the next video we will understand one by one with the detail. So this is the general overview. The physiology is there are different form of clotho membrane like bound, intracellular and secreted. Let's understand about the three stages. So this is the cell and the blood circulatory system. So this is the this is the membrane bound clotho, which that bound and remain bound in the cell membrane, while the intracellular clotho is remain the inside of the cell, while the here is the membrane bound clotho is FGF receptor for increase their affinity to FGF like FGF 23, 15 and 19 for regulation of the phosphate for FGF23. But we will understand in the next video about the FGF23 relation. So the growth factor will bind whenever it will secreted form. Here is the secreted. When the growth factor bind with the growth factor will lead to endothelial cell. For example, growth, survive, proliferation of several tissue and prevention of anti-aging. So the prevention of aging. So in this way it is anti-aging. Remember, this is important thing you should need to understand. On the other hand, it will bind also with the cytokines, because cytokines also is a growth factor, like basically it is immune cell, for example, which that proliferation, recruitment, response to clear pathogenesis. In this way the clear of the pathogenicity which that is due to the clotho. So the clotho is the enhancer of the cytokine and will trigger the function, the physiology of the growth factor and cytokines. On the other hand, the intracellular, clotho is important for the sodium potassium ATPase pump, which that will regulate the potassium and sodium inside of the cell and outside of the cell. And the RIG1, it will inhibit the RIG1, basically is the retinoic acid inducible gene 1, which that inhibit through a intracellular clotho will lead to inflammation and aging, which that is possible, the RIG1. So inhibit in this way the inflammation and the aging will inhibit. So intracellular organelle is also involved for this. Anyhow, the muscle stem cell, for example, we are looking at the muscle. So the muscle stem cell, which that is healthy. So how it is possible to healthy? This is a young muscle. So in this way, the stem cell, which that's clotho level when high during the early age of life, so the clotho level high will lead to inhibit the mitochondrial DNA damage. In this way, the cells survive and healthy. Reactive oxygen species inhibit through clotho. Basically, the long process we will not understand. And activation of these muscle stem cell will lead to muscle regeneration and after injury. So whenever you will go into the gym and muscle injury will lead to again preparation during the fasting stage, and the sleeping time recovery phase will lead to muscle regeneration after injury. For old muscle stem cell, aging related clotho decline. So in this way, the aging related clotho decline, when the decline of the clotho due to the old muscle stem cell, and in this way, what will be happen? Let's understand. Basically, the reactive oxygen species produce more, and DNA damage, the mitochondrial DNA damage, abiogenesis of the mitochondria, and on the other hand, the cell survival possibility will decrease. In this way, the clotho will not inhibit more reactive oxygen species and mitochondrial DNA damage, and in this way will lead to impaired healing. So the healing process will lead to cell death, tendency. In the cell death will lead to apoptosis, and in this way, the basically cell will die ultimately. This is basically is the sign of aging when the clotho will decrease. The suppression of Vant glycoprotein signaling. What is this? It will bind with a Vant ligand, and in this way, when bind, it will not bind with a Vant receptor. In this way, the normally Vant3 signaling, for example, is able to arrest the cell cycle at G2 and M phase, the mitotic phase, and growth 2 phase. Therefore, prolong it, and the clotho treated cells bypass the cell cycle phase G2 and M, and it will lead to prolong it. So on the other hand, the inhibition of insulin and insulin like growth factor 1 pathway. In this way, what that means, that is important, we will understand the decreased insulin production with increased insulin sensitivity. In this way, the beta cell of pancreas will release less insulin due to the clotho, and in this way decrease the insulin, but the sensitivity of the insulin will increase with the insulin receptor. In this way, the insulin will bind even less amount of the insulin will work properly, rather than the increase of the insulin will lead to damage the blood vascular system. And the IGF receptor will basically inhibit this indirect mechanism to due to the clotho, will lead to activate the FOXO 1, 3 and 4, will lead to catabolism as well as the apoptosis if the cell will damage. So increase the catabolism. Oxidative stress suppression is important topic. We will understand in the next video with the detail. So the DNA damage in decrease, and mitochondrial damage and DNA damage decrease due to the oxidative stress suppression. And in this way, important things you should need to understand the FOXO 3A bind with the clotho after phosphorylation will lead to activate the manganese superoxide dismutase enzyme, which that will lead to inhibit the reactive oxygen species. And in this way, the overexpression clotho can reduce the level of peroxide induced by apoptosis, mitochondrial DNA fragmentation, and superoxide anion generation. In this way, I hope you make sense about that. The Klotho physiology. So the Klotho is important anti-aging and a lot more things like suppression of Vant glycoprotein signaling, inhibition of insulin, IGF-1 pathway, and the oxidative stress suppression and muscle stem cell growth. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video for this and bye.